These 8 useful English words will boost your everyday fluency and your IELTS, TOEFL, or Cambridge score. And you won't just memorize them. You'll meet each one inside the story, feel what it means, then prove you caught it. That's how your brain keeps them for good. Mara stood at the edge of the deep end, and her whole swim team waited for her to dive. Everyone in town called her the fastest swimmer her age. So why were her feet frozen to the cold tiles? And why had her hands begun to tremble? By the end of that summer, Mara would swim straight into the thing she feared most, to save a life. It had not always been this way. 2 years before, Mara had loved the water more than anything in the world. Then, one gray afternoon at Hartley Lake, she swam out too far. A cold, pulling current wrapped around her legs and dragged her down. She still remembered the murky green water closing over her head and her chest burning for air. A stranger pulled her out. She never saw his face. She only woke on the shore, coughing, while someone ran for help. After that day, Mara could swim in the shallow end without fear, but the deep end was a different thing. Whenever the floor dropped away beneath her feet, her heart would race and her hands would tremble. She would gasp for air she did not even need. So she made excuses, a sore shoulder, a bad night's sleep, anything at all but the truth. Her coach was patient, but the trials were coming fast. And one person believed in Mara completely. Her little brother, Sam. Sam was 9, and he thought his sister could do anything at all. "You're the bravest person I know," he told her every morning. Mara never had the heart to tell him the truth. The bravest person he knew was secretly breathless with fear at the edge of deep water. On the last Saturday of summer, the family drove out to Hartley Lake for a picnic. Mara's stomach tightened the moment she saw the flat gray water. Sam ran straight for it, splashing and laughing in the shallows. "Stay where it's shallow," Mara called after him. But Sam was 9, and the deep blue middle of the lake looked like an adventure. It happened in a single moment. Sam pushed off from a rock and paddled out much further than he meant to. Then his face changed, his arms began to thrash at the water, and a thin, frightened gasp carried across the lake. "Mara!" he cried. The cold current had him now, the same pulling water that had almost taken her. Sam was thrashing, slipping under, and no one stood near enough to reach him but Mara. Every part of her wanted to freeze. Her hands were trembling at her sides. But this was Sam. She did not let herself think about the murky water or the day it had nearly killed her. She ran and she dived, and she swam harder than she had ever swum before. The cold closed over her, dark and deep, and this time she swam straight into it. She reached Sam just as his head slipped under. She clutched his small arm and pulled with everything she had. "I've got you," she shouted, breathless, swallowing cold lake water. Sam threw his arms around her neck and held on tight. Kicking hard against the current, half blind, Mara dragged them both toward the shore, one stroke at a time. Her feet found the soft mud at last. She hauled Sam up onto the grass, and he coughed and cried, and then, thank God, he breathed. Their parents came running. Mara lay back on the bank, soaked and shaking and breathless, and a great wave of relief swept through her. Sam was safe. She had gone down into the deep, dark water, and she had brought him back out with her. A young lifeguard had seen it all from his chair and come sprinting down the beach. He knelt beside Sam, checked him over, and smiled. "He's all right. You reached him just in time." Then he looked at Mara, really looked, and his whole face changed. "I know you," he said slowly. "2 summers ago, right here, I pulled a girl out of that very current." Mara stared at him. The stranger who had once saved her life, the face she had never seen, had been him all along. That winter, Mara walked back to the edge of the deep end, where her hands used to tremble. She looked down at the still blue water for a long moment. Then she clutched the cold rail once, let go, and dived clean into the deep. There was no fear left to fight now, only a quiet relief and the memory of a small boy clutching her neck, trusting his sister to carry him home. Now, and did you catch all 8? Let's find out. A verb meaning to suddenly pull in your breath from shock or for air. It's the sharp breath you take when icy water hits your bare skin. At the deep end, Mara would do this, sucking at air she did not need. She would do what? Pull in her breath sharply for air she did not even need.
The word is gasp.
I gasped when the freezing water suddenly closed over my shoulders. A verb meaning to grab and hold something very tightly. It's how you grip a rail when you are afraid of falling. In the deep water, Mara did this to Sam's small arm and pulled. She did what to his small arm? Gripped it hard and pulled with everything she had. The word is klʌtʃ. The frightened child clutched her mother's hand in the busy station. A verb meaning to shake slightly, usually from fear or cold. It's the small shaking of your hands when you are truly afraid. At the edge of the deep end, this is what Mara's hands would do. Her hands had begun to do what? Shake with fear. On the cold poolside tiles, the word is tremble. His voice began to tremble as he read the frightening letter aloud. A verb meaning to move or hit out wildly with violent jerks. It's how a fish flips and beats when it lands on dry ground. Caught in the lake, Sam's arms began to do this at the water. Sam's arms began to do what? Beat wildly at the water as he slipped under. The word is thrash. The swimmer began to thrash in panic when the cramp seized her leg. A noun for a steady flow of water moving in one direction. It's the unseen pull of a river that can sweep a swimmer away. A cold pulling one of these had once dragged Mara under the lake. The cold, what had Sam now? The same pulling water that almost took her. The word is current. A strong current pulled the small boat far from the safe harbor. A noun for the good feeling when fear or worry suddenly ends. It's the warm wave you feel the moment bad news turns out false. When Sam finally breathed on the bank, this washed through Mara. A great wave of what? The feeling that worry is over, swept through her once Sam was safe. The word is relief. She felt a wave of relief when the test results came back clear. An adjective meaning out of breath, panting, and unable to breathe easily. It's how you feel at the top of a long, steep flight of stairs. Mara hid that she was secretly this from fear at the deep end. She dragged Sam to shore, soaked, shaking, and what? Unable to catch her breath? The word is breathless. She arrived breathless at the top of the hill after the long climb. An adjective meaning dark, cloudy, and hard to see through. It's the kind of pond water so muddy you cannot see your own feet. Mara remembered this green lake water closing over her head. The what kind of green water closed over her head as she went under? The word is murky. We could see nothing at all in the murky water of the old well. Quick recap. How many do you still remember? Gasp. Klʌtʃ. Tremble. Thrash. Current. Relief. Breathless. Murky. A new English story every day. Subscribe and learn useful words the way your brain actually keeps them. Inside a story you won't forget.